I asked you about the Star Trek thing because of your description of the planet in that book, and I'm gonna butcher the title. 5 days till
5 days until sunset.
until sunset. I wanted to say Sunday. I knew that wasn't right. So 5 days till sunset. So this planet that only faces one, side that has the hot and the cold, like our moon, reminded me of the planet Reman or Remus, in the Romulan Empire. The Remans,
Mm.
that because that was basically
Yes.
kind of how their planet was, which make it science is what science is. That was bound to be that common thing, but it reminded me of that, which is why I
Well,
got to that
and you know what
question.
I didn't know is the the first science fiction story that used that as a premise was, and I'm not going to remember the name of the author, but it was written back in the 1930s.
Hmm.
I only discovered that later. The I mean, we've recognized for a long time that our moon does that for us, but yeah, back in the 1930s, one of those golden age writers applied that idea to another planet and then wrote a story about it. Um, so yeah, I mean the premise itself is not new, but so here I'll throw in the spoiler, which is not really a spoiler because it comes in like halfway through the story. They realize after being there for like a couple of days, they realize their interpretation of the 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 probe data that had scanned the planet when like a small probe was sent to the star system like 100 years earlier and sent its data back. They had misinterpreted it, and the planet is not tidally locked. It's just rotating very, very slowly. And they
Oh.
realize one day is 15 years. But their measurements were right on, because if night is 7.5 years long, it does get down to minus 60, and their measurements of that were correct. And on the daytime, it is plus 70. So I'm talking Celsius here. And so it's unlivable where it's noon, and it's unlivable where it's midnight. But they can't just live at this one spot, which is permanent twilight, because it's not permanent twilight. And so that's where the title comes from. 5 days until sunset. They see the sun, and after a couple of days, they realize the sun is setting, and they recalculate and realize we're going to freeze if we stay here. It's going to in 3 more days the sun is going to be set, and we'll freeze. And so how can we build our colony, or how can we build houses and start farms? Because now we have to be nomads. We have to keep walking, and we don't have to walk very far. Um, uh, Depending on what latitude you're at. If you're at the equator, maybe 5 kilometers a day. If you're at a higher latitude, then maybe you only need to walk 2.5 kilometers a day to go around the sun, but to stay at the spot where it's livable. And so that's part of the challenge they're facing. It's like, how can we possibly do this? Are we become nomads? Like, does that mean we're abandoning all of our technology? We're abandoning all of our plans to establish farms and a city? How do we deal with this?
I
So that's where the
love this
challenge comes from.
premise. I love that they think they're going to be stable, but then they're going to have to be nomadic.
Yeah.
I have this idea, and it's yours if you want it, but I'm just like, wow, if you have another book about another planet where maybe half the time they're underwater. I just think, wow, that could be an interesting thing too. How do we build the city underwater? Anyway, maybe that's too far fetched. But I love the premise, though, of them having to find a way to have a nomadic lifestyle, be able to produce food, because obviously, if you're living on a planet, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
grow crops somehow,
Yeah.
whether it's hydroponics or something else. But yeah, how do you make that whole situation livable without freezing or frying? Yeah, amazing.
So
So
that's why, and so starting to think through the possibilities for that that's where I get sucked into the world building and say, okay, well, what would the ecology be like? All right, so we're assuming animals are migratory as well, and what would
Water
the weather be
sources.
like, and water sources, and what does it look like when the night part of the planet on the morning side is starting to turn into the sun, and that's whatever was there starting to melt. And so yeah, that's where I occasionally have to pull myself out of the world building and work on the story again.